welcome to another episode of the Prestij Podcast. This is Hamza from Prestij Consulting, and today I have a very interesting profile with me, a very good friend of ours. He's also another expert in the real estate sector. He has been in Turkey for 3 years and on, the manager of the Rixos residence. Josiah, welcome to the Prestij Podcast.
Thank you so much, Hamza, for having me. I'm excited to be here with you today and share a little bit about what
How are you
I am.
doing? Good. How's everything? Long
Good.
time no see.
Yeah.
I think one of the first videos we did on our Instagram was about the Tersane residence and the Rixos, etc. And we did it with you, if you remember. I think 2 years ago, if I still remember.
Sure. It's been some time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, how did you end up in Turkey? And let's first get you to introduce yourself to the Prestij Podcast.
Sure. My pleasure. So I'm originally from Hawaii. My mom is from Hawaii. My dad is from Los Angeles, California. But I was born in Uganda in East Africa.
Wow.
Yes, my father was a missionary with my mother there. And so me and my older brother were born there. My younger brother was born in the States. And I spent the first 3 years of my life in the jungle.
Wow.
And we eventually moved back to the States. Or for me, it was the first time living and growing up in Hawaii, in the small town of Hilo on the Big Island. And attended a private school. My father is a Christian pastor and has always been involved in churches and spreading God's word around the world. So I was approached one day when I was 13 years old by my parents saying we're moving to a country called Kazakhstan. My father had been offered a position there, and he was ready to take the whole family to a former Soviet republic from the islands of Hawaii to a cold, young country. And we made the move. And it was challenging, for a teenager to get used to not only a new country, but an entirely new culture that has its influence, of course, the former Soviet Union.
So where did you live for the 13 years?
So for the first 13 years of my life, I was in Hawaii.
In Hawaii. Then you moved to Kazakhstan.
Then we moved to Kazakhstan.
Did you know Russian by then?
No, we did not.
Or
We
Kazakh
went to an
language?
international school, so
Okay.
we had Russian-speaking classes. But my brothers and then some of our classmates, we were really passionate about snowboarding. We were passionate about skateboarding. At that time, there were even no snowboards for sale in Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
And skateboarding, people were wondering, how are you able to jump off of stairs and flip the board and everything like that? And so we introduced skateboarding as well to Kazakhstan. And so over the years of finishing high school there, I picked up Russian, and that's been a big advantage for my day-to-day activities here in Turkey. Because, as you know, many of the buyers in Turkish real estate are Russian,
speaking.
and if Russian speaking, right? So the whole, not just Russia, of course, but the whole entire.
So 3 years in
foreign
Uganda,
countries.
10 years in Kazakhstan, in the US.
Yep.
And how many years in Kazakhstan?
Off and on. I ended up, I'm a father.
Yeah.
I have a 20-year-old daughter, and it's really the love of my life. I think anyone who has kids, it's the best part of my life. And so I ended up staying. I was married for some time and, being her father. So I took on various roles and lived there for many, many years. And throughout the years, I would head back to the States. Quite typical for me to travel quite a bit. And just being around her.
So you left Kazakhstan to Turkey?
I left Kazakhstan to Turkey.
Okay.
And I was offered a new position in the new downtown project by Rixos Hotels, Tersane Istanbul. And I came over to check it out, to meet the sales team, to meet my employer, and see the project. And once I did, as you know, it's
Magnificent.
beautifully
Yeah.
located on the waterfront. The scale is enormous, and the potential from the hotel side, from the retail side, from the cultural aspect and its history. I was like, if I'm going to be doing international real estate sales in Turkey, this
This
is
is
the
the place.
project to do it. And so I moved here in April of 2022.
Okay. So it's been, what, 2 years and a half? Close to 3 years?
Yeah, close to 3 years. And again, over the years of living overseas, I will travel through Turkey, and I think that's the case for many, many people. Istanbul is always this kind of hub in the middle of the world, and I was always fascinated with Turkey. I mean, the history and the culture, and of course, the food.
What's your favorite
Right?
thing about Turkey?
I love that Turkey is so diverse.
Yeah.
It's got so many different cultures represented. We're essentially in the center of the world, but you jump on a plane fairly inexpensively, and you're on beautiful coastline down south.
Yeah.
You can check out all of the architectural, the city. I mean, the structures and just it's an incredibly special place to be, and I feel very proud.
I think in one
to
hour
be
you
here.
can access to a lot of countries. In 2 hours, in 3 hours span also you can access to, I mean, Lebanon, Jordan, Europe. I mean, I think
I have yet to travel more
Yeah.
in that part of the world, but of course, I've gone several times to Dubai. I've gone to Qatar, and then within Turkey, I've had the chance to not only go myself, but having two brothers and having parents that also love international travel. When they come over, we can, of course, go and visit different cities.
So you've been in the real estate industry for quite some time now. What were you doing before you got into real estate in Turkey?
So I was always involved in sales.
Okay.
I believe sales is it's communication, it's relationships with people. And prior to this, I was involved in corporate culture training
Yeah.
and customer service development. I think customer service is an essential part of business success
Every business.
in every business and every sales transaction.
Yeah.
Whether it be, of course, how you're served in a hotel or in a restaurant, what we kind of typically think as that's the service experience. But I think as real estate professionals, as salespeople, throughout the entire process, service is something that needs to be ingrained and maintained to a very high level to provide excellent service.
And especially that we're in the luxury real estate market. I think if you're not offering the a very good service, you cannot be alive in the market. I mean, you can survive
Definitely.
because there are a lot of things that are related to the luxury market, which is the hospitality, the way you treat your clients, what other services you provide. And I think it's extremely important to our sector. I think you did well. I mean, you were in the same line of business. I think the hospitality business or the service business
Sure.
and real estate is a part of that. So, is it something that you've always wanted to do? I mean, sales and real estate?
I'm always been good with people. I've I think partially I think important is how you present yourself. I'm a son of a pastor, of a missionary who's traveled around the world, and public speaking is something that he's so talented in. Another thing that I think helped me allow me to kind of have this level of success here. I was always involved in the media. So I had my own TV show. I've done a lot of voiceovers. So I've always had the ability to do voiceovers. I've done Mercedes Benz. I've done the UNESCO films. I've done a huge range of advertisement, corporate films, and things for different companies. And I think relationships are important. And I think the ability to be able to network, to meet people like you, to build relations is important. And then to be able to do that multiculturally. I think I would struggle if I was an American straight out of some part in America living in Turkey and getting adjusted to life overseas. I basically put me anywhere in the world, and I think I could not only just survive, but I think I could thrive to some degree, just because I've been fortunate to have traveled to many
I think
countries.
that's really good, by the way. It's really interesting to see how combined is your cultures. I mean, the African thing. You got something from Africa. You got something from the U.S. You got few things also from Kazakhstan. Now you're in Turkey, so it's a mixture of a lot of cultures. And I think with this combination, wherever you go in the world, I think you can, do very well. Not only survive, I think you can do very, very well. So it's really interesting. Is it? Did you ever consider doing real estate in some other countries?
There was a brief time when I was representing my former boss from Kazakhstan,
Yeah.
and he had purchased some real estate in the United States. So I got to kind of experience that process as well. Much more kind of developed and more complicated in many ways than what we see here in Turkey.
Is it
I think
different?
it's just more advanced.
Okay.
And yeah, there's a lot of talk, of course, about the Dubai market, or you had just come back from Saudi Arabia. I know, on your recent trip to Cityscape.
Yeah.
So there are emerging markets that uh, that could be somewhat attractive to me. I, being a father and kind of being a young father, I never had the opportunity to just sit around and consider what I want to do.
Yeah.
It was about being aggressive, about being passionate, about finding my career path, and so I'm always looking, and I never. I never don't allow myself to explore options, to continue to grow, to continue to push myself.
Yeah.
Because if someone's not happy in life, if someone's not being motivated to want more, I feel that they're going down and declining in their abilities. I think we should set high standards, set high goals for us to want more, to learn and explore throughout our career and throughout our own lives.
So you've conducted a few transactions in the U.S. real estate market. So are there any pros in the U.S. that you think we could benefit from if they were introduced here in the Turkish market, for example?
Obviously, the number one person in the real estate market today is Ryan Serhant. And when I talk with, just recently, I was in Paris as well, for a global event done by Barnes. And Ryan Serhant has established himself as not just
A broker.
a broker.
Yeah.
He's a media personality. I mean, he's used like podcast and social media to build a very, very
Courses,
strong
training.
image, of course, and going the corporate training, education route as well. So I know he has had some exposure in Dubai, but I think Turkey's market. We briefly talked about this before, but I don't know how many Americans by fax are actually purchasing in Turkey. Whether that continue to change. I know a lot of Americans are more Americans from year on year are coming over to Turkey
Yeah.
for vacations, because it's a bit far from that aspect.
According to the stats, I think monthly there is an average of 40, 50 purchase that's made by US citizens
Interesting.
every month.
Well, that's higher than I would, would have thought.
So yearly that's make, I think, less than 1,000, let's say. Less than 1,000. But again, what I've seen from US citizens who are coming to Turkey is that they're coming from different backgrounds. That are like originally from, let's say, Palestinians or Indians or Pakistanis or different backgrounds or immigrants that have been there for 20, 30, 50 years or like generations.
Sure.
But you would find that whoever is interested in the Turkish market has, you know, other backgrounds than being a U.S. citizen. I mean, that's what I've seen. Maybe also there are real U.S. citizens who are also interested in the
What
investment
does
market.
real mean?
I mean,
Yes.
origin. I mean,
Why do you-
original. Yeah, original U.S. citizens. I mean, all of them are
Right,
real, but
right, of course. But I can understand how that they've had
yeah,
some influence or maybe family history within this part of the
yeah,
world.
yeah, yeah, indeed.
And again, like how I believe I feel, I've got a chance to experience this country on many levels. I think Americans would continue to love to visit and consider investment opportunities here.
I think Turkey has a lot to offer. It's a diversification of so many cultures. They have a little bit of Europe, they have a little bit of Asia, they have a little bit of the Middle East, the Arab culture, something from Africa because they've been to Egypt and to Algeria before in the Ottoman Empire. So I think Turkey is a mixture of so many cultures, and I think they are friendly with whoever comes to the market.
Yeah, I totally feel safe here and
Yeah.
comfortable. I mean, I'm not surprised. It's they talk how the U.S. is a melting pot and everything, but in very much the same way, Turkey has all people from all around the world,
Yeah.
from all walks of life. Of course, you have to talk about the challenging times too that exist in the
Yeah.
world today, and people feel safe and people feel comfortable. And Turkey's been somewhat welcoming for people to come in and allow themselves to obtain citizenship, even, right? And for those that want to consider a new life, Turkey's a beautiful option.
How can you evaluate your life in Turkey? I mean, is it hard? Is it challenging? Is it easy? I mean, how would you, um, let's say, introduce it to someone who is considering moving to Turkey, a family with kids, or someone who just want to come here and spend, let's say, 6 months of the year, want to enjoy the culture? What would you advise them?
I'm a single guy,
Yeah,
and for me, it's I'm much more flexible, I guess you could say. So if it was a family,
yeah,
I think one of the big challenges that Turkey does pose is the English language. I think that more and more people need to improve their English proficiency. It's challenging to get adjusted. Turkish is a language that even after almost 3 years here, sure, I get around, but I don't have deep conversations with people. I'm not
yeah.
able to converse quite fluently. So I could see that as being a challenge. The international schools here, I heard, are great,
Yeah,
and they offer a very good level of education for
yeah.
kids. The healthcare system is really, really good. So people could easily feel like, if there's any health concerns, you have a very high level of of medicine
Hospitals
and
and medicine.
hospitals.
Yeah, yeah.
Day to day, Istanbul's a city of what, almost 20 million people in this
Yeah.
city. It's huge. It's a huge city. There was another time that I lived for 2 years in Beijing. So I was in Beijing and involved in some work there as well. And so I'm kind of somewhat comfortable with being in a big city. But I like the ability that if you want to take off somewhere, you're in the center of the world.
Yeah.
Because I think you sometimes need to leave, you need to move, you need to change to realize what it is that you really have. I just think we as people, we don't value what we have until we don't have it,
Yeah,
right? So
you're right.
being able to get on a plane and going to visit a place to come back and to realize, and trying to do that maybe every 3 or 6 months at least to have that trip. Because it's tough. It's noisy, there's traffic, and there's congestion. People are packed in a big city, as any
Yeah.
big city, right? And so sometimes you need a little bit of alone time, a
Yeah,
little
of
bit of
course.
space.
Of course.
But but Istanbul is growing and developing really, really quickly, and is one of the modern capitals of the world today.
Do you think that a family can survive without learning Turkish in Istanbul?
I think it'd be very challenging.
But it is doable.
It's possible, but then again, what do they want to experience from living here? Do they want to hang out with the international community and just have friends
Yes.
that are all
Yeah.
international people?
And I think there is
Sure.
enough in international
But
community.
if, yeah, of course. But if you want to get into the culture and the
Yeah.
lifestyle and the understanding, you're going to need to learn Turkish.
Because lately we've seen a lot of families wanting to move from different cultures. My previous sales, for example, I sold to a Russian family who came from Moscow, for example, and they want to settle here in Istanbul. Yeah, they have their own babysitters, they have their own stuff. You know, they already took their kids to international schools. They have their own drivers, they have their own thing, and they don't speak Turkish. I mean, and they're, doing fine. A few months before, I sold to a French family that are originally from Morocco and Algeria. Also, they don't speak the language, and zero complaint. I mean, of course we're keeping in touch with them, and we meet every single day. Of course, if there is a challenge or something that needs to be fixed by someone who speaks Turkish, of course they reach out to us. Or
They have translators.
Yeah, yeah.
If you can afford, of course, the lifestyle, and
Yeah.
that's okay for you to kind of be somewhat in the bubble. And that's fine, to each their own. So when you ask the question, like, would a family be able to, of course they could manage, and they could manage well.
Because until
it all just
now,
depends on what they want to experience.
yeah,
Right?
because until now, I still know families that are based, let's say, in Başakşehir or Başşehir, this Arab community, or that we have in Istanbul. And I think I know people that's been here for 10 years, I think, or 15 years, and they have zero Turkish.
True.
And they managed to live for 10 years because, every family is different, and every family has its own vibe. So, okay, are you looking for international schools? We have international schools in Turkey. You want international hospitals? We have international hospitals.
Definitely.
We have doctors that speaks English or speaks
Definitely.
other languages.
Correct.
Do you want to open a business in Turkey? We have accountants that speak, let's say, other languages, or lawyers that speaks English. We have so many lawyers that can do your legal transactions in so many languages also. So, is it hard to live without Turkish? Yes, it is. But is it impossible? No.
No.
As long as I think
definitely
you
not.
have
No.
your circle, I think it's
Sure.
yeah.
No, and many people do, and I'm a little bit challenged at times that I don't speak Turkish. I know you speak Turkish very well, but definitely I get by.
I was obliged to learn Turkish. I didn't study it in school.
Really?
I mean, I did my
course.
my university in English.
Yeah.
And for the first 4 years that I spent in Turkey, I had zero. I think I had these basics like ne kadar, how much,
Yeah.
nasılsın, iyi
Yeah, of
falan.
course.
But I've never wanted to learn Turkish because I understood how stubborn, Turkish they are with English. So I also got this stubbornness. I was like, okay, you don't want to learn Turkish. I will.
You gave up.
Yeah, I literally
They broke
gave.
you then.
Yeah, they won for the first 4 years, and then I entered real estate, and I understood if I want to do business in this country, I have to learn the language. Otherwise, I will have to face more challenges in life.
Of course.
So I did not study it in school. I just picked it up with my ear. I was just sitting with my bosses all the time. They speak Turkish, and I try to pick up sentences and words and vocabs and etc. etc. Until I have a musical ear, so it's easy for me to catch things
great.
and languages. So that's how I ended up learning the language.
Just kind of finalizing. I mean, if you take any major city in the world with large populations, there's always going to be these circles and communities in which people feel comfortable and they don't really necessarily have to learn the
Yeah.
language, right? Like there are people in the United States. If you're a Chinese speaker, you could live in Chinatown or Korean town or
Yeah.
whatever in Los Angeles, and you don't even need English to get by.
I mean, in some period of time, we used to receive hundreds of Chinese clients, and they're still living in Istanbul, and I don't even see them.
Right.
And I'm sure they have their own places where they go, their own restaurants, their own investments, their own coffee shops, their own clubs.
Right.
And I think I mean, culture, they have somewhere where to go. Arabs, you will find Arab restaurants, Arab, lounges, and
Sure.
etc., in their places. Chinese, I'm sure there is a place where you can find them. Russians, of course, you can see them, let's say, in Nishantashi, in Zorlu Center, in Isinia Park, etc., etc. And it's beautiful that people can, they
Yeah.
create their own communities and you know um, live around.
Right.
And I think that um, Turkey is easy to live in it. I think it's doable for someone either with a family or without a family can survive. Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. So let's talk a little bit about Tersane.
Of course.
Yeah. So what makes it special for property investment or for also people who wants to live? I mean, talk to us a little bit about Tersane.
Sure. Well, Tersane being, an old shipyard, so the history is very, very vast. I mean, the location is important. It's in the Golden Horn,
Yeah.
which, if hundreds and hundreds of years ago, it's returning that former glory to what it deserves to be. It's an old shipyard with historical structures, and FTG Development is taking this project on to create essentially a new luxury downtown. So 4 or 5-star hotels, Rixos Tersane has opened already.
Yeah.
And already starting to welcome guests from all around the world.
Fancy.
Fancy.
Very fancy.
And then in addition, there'll be another 3 hotels. Luxury shopping. So these brands are coming with large store formats and concepts.
Yeah.
So all of the luxury brands will be there. And not only luxury brands, but over 270 retail. So Nike, for example, will have a flagship store.
Did you sign with any high-end brands?
Yes, we've signed with almost all of them. Are those that are able to be in. So a monoblock concept by Louis Vuitton, by Chanel, by Cartier, by Hermes, by Gucci.
Okay.
And the difference is they can access by water. So even if the guests or their clients are not staying in the project, they can come and pick them up and use a boat transport.
Yeah.
Excuse me. The branding is all a monoblock, meaning that they have their own entire block to decorate, to fit out, to make it
According to
something
their
special.
own
Of course.
design, yeah.
Of course. Dior, for example, Christian Dior coming with a restaurant, a full service restaurant. So they, will be able to show their level of quality in the food business as well. So what's available today is changing to be a new level as Istanbul is an attractive city for shoppers globally. That's exciting. Culture and museums are very important. So there'll be museums within the project. Also a Koç Museum, Sadberghani Museum.
Yeah.
And it's an entertainment space. We're continuing to put on lots of different events, concerts, exhibitions, conferences, because of its location, because of the ability that we have event spaces as well. And for roughly just almost 3 years, been offering residential properties. So you can purchase an apartment in different zones in the project and own a little piece of history and be in the most exciting new development project in the country.
If I remember, it was like 240,000 meters square.
242,000 square meters and a 2.2 kilometer of coastline.
Wow.
So
that's
that
a massive.
open area, it's a huge project. And So we get the chance to offer these luxury residences for for people from all over the world, and of course, local Turkish citizens are buying because
Yeah.
it just makes sense. It's the future, and people can predict the capital appreciation, the possibilities for not only the investment attractiveness, but people want to be in the center.
Yeah.
Here, you're located in Istanbul. This is one of another center of Istanbul. So essentially everything around you. But you're also buying into a community of affluent people, of a certain status, of expectations, a certain level of service, I think,
Yeah.
again, and comfort and security. So it remains to be definitely the leading project in Istanbul.
Yeah. So Tersane has a branded residence, which is Rixos. What's your general take on branded residence around the world?
Sure. It's a trend, yeah, that's been going on for some time. Branded residences typically mean that the apartments are either furnished, but they're ready.
Yeah.
So the brand has the ability to offer some set product, in our case for Rixos, to the standard of what we would see in a hotel.
Okay.
And we do have various set rental income possibilities for investors, for those that say, hey, I believe in the brand, I love the brand,
Yeah.
and I want to own a residence. So that I think keeps to the value, the property value of the brand itself, and makes it a home away from home. And you don't have to necessarily stay in the hotel, but you can have your own residence under that brand.
I mean, would you personally prefer to live in a branded residence?
If I'm a fan of the brand, right?
Yeah.
If I believe in the brand, I like the brand. I think it just speaks volumes to the value.
Yeah.
And with a brand like Rixos, a very, very exciting Turkish-based brand, but with the partnership of Accor, of course, very, very exposed, with 7 countries with our hotel. So I think I think it could make sense for a really nice investment attractiveness.
Okay. You mentioned that. Excuse me. You mentioned that Rixos residences are offering rental income. What are we talking about? Of course, I know, but we want
Sure.
to.
It's a fixed rental income.
Okay.
So it's fixed at 7% per year, paid in US dollars. And Rixos is ready to offer 5 + 5. So 5 years, you could try it, and if you like it, and you're getting your return.
Yeah.
And then you could do for another 5-year extension if that's of interest.
Okay.
As an owner of this residence, you have 14 days free of charge
Every year.
every year, and you can break those up. So you don't have to stay all the 2 weeks at one period. You could plan your summer vacation in your residence. You could do Christmas and New Year holidays as well, and you're making your investment at the off-plan stage with the expectation that the prices are going to continue to increase, and you'll get your appreciation, but knowing that you have this fixed rental income at 7% every year, going back to you.
So 7% on 5 years, that's 35%. After the first 5 years, would they change the rate?
No,
So it's 5%.
it's
So
fixed.
basically, the 5 years, the first 5 years, you just need to evaluate if you like the system or not, and if you like it, you can continue for another 5 years.
Sure.
So basically, it's 7% for 10 years, which means you can get 70% of your investment within 10 years.
Correct.
While you're using 14 days free of charge,
Sure.
your own property with the same service as the Rixos is providing. That's I think a nice deal, and at the same time you get your capital growth, your capital appreciation, and your property growing on in value.
Right. And I think of course, you're an expert in the field, and much more time you've been in this business here in Turkey than I have. But first off, the fixed rental income gives some peace of mind to the client.
Yeah.
Because as things are changing, since rental income goes up and down, but at least from what I see, the typical, if the property value is above $500,000, it's somewhere around 2, 3, maybe 4%.
Yeah.
So fixing at 7% in US dollars
Promising.
is promising. And then after 5 years, I advise my investors and clients, pause, think about it, see where you're at. Maybe it's something that you want to continue for another 5 years. Maybe it's something you want to consider for a resale.
Yeah.
And it really depends. Maybe you want to say, hey, you know what? I love it so much.
Well, I wanna
I'm
live
ready
in
to
it.
move it. I want to live in it. I want to use it, and I want to enjoy everything that the project offers.
So is the offer of the 7% only limited for the one bedroom or for all type of?
So 1 bedroom to 3 bedroom units.
Okay.
And it doesn't change. And we can also offer to sell these branded Rixos residences without the rental, fixed rental income.
Okay.
So, it depends on the client. I just often have clients that, are comfortable where they're from and they live there, but they just see Turkey as an exciting opportunity for an investment. And so they come in, and then that's something that they feel very confident about, because we've, established a strong brand with Rixos and continue to expand year on year. Our growth is very, very good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's exactly how I also explain it to my clients, which is this is a one-time opportunity that exists in the market, a branded residence by the waters with all of these facilities, with all the branded stores, shops, with millions of things around. And of course, if you are an investment, if you're considering this purchase as an investment, I would advise you to, let's say, sell it after 5 years or 10 years. And it's not your problem anymore that is going to be 49 years. And that's exactly how I approach my clients when I offer Rexus rental guarantee system, and it's et cetera, et cetera. And I think if the buyer is not considering living, the 49-year is not his problem, because he would just benefit from the 7% for a certain time period and then, sell it again. But do you think it's easy to sell after, let's say, 5 years or 10 years?
I think, of course, with the team, we're always are having active discussions about this and what we think could be interesting. I still think that with a significant amount of time, and let's say 30 years is a significant amount of time left, or 25 years even for that matter. I think anywhere from 5 to maybe even possibly closer to 15 years. It really depends on what we'll see will happen in the market.
Yeah.
Of course, it depends on the individual investor themselves and what they want to get out of it, right? Times are changing. Things are moving fast. The mistake would be not to be aware or not to be familiar with what it is to become. And I hope that we can have some guests together with you to at least understand it, visit the project, and to really understand why this could be a great opportunity.
I also think it is a great opportunity, and especially, let's say, if someone buys it now and it's still not delivered yet, in 5 years of time, everything will start to function. Everything is going to be, on and on, all the stores, all the branded residences, all the hotels around. And I think that's going to give it a big push in terms of value, a lot of, capital growth. Right?
Sure, I think it's directly correlated with that.
Yeah.
And this is not just expectation. This is proven. We see all of those centers that that essentially open up and drive all of this interest, whether it be entertainment, whether it be hotels, whether it be restaurants, whether it be shopping. The price of those residences continue to go up, and we expect the same.
As a real estate expert, what is something that you do to make the investor journey or the process of purchasing a home flexible and smooth? Is there something that you personally do to help with the purchase process?
We work with a lot of brokerage companies and agencies, and I value the opportunity to meet cool people. We get the opportunity to meet wonderful people, challenging people, people with high expectations. Again, let's consider that these people are wealthy individuals.
Yeah.
When you're a wealthy individual, you have attained a certain level of comfort, and you're very confident to show that or to prove that. So I think in our business, we just need to be transparent, we need to be honest, and we need to be honed on the particular needs and wants of an individual, of a buyer and his family.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's his decision. He wants to make the decision, but the wife also has as much say in the decision as he does. So I think it's time for us to somewhat shut up and just give questions, just inquire more about what this person wants, what this person needs, and get a chance to use somewhat limited time from the sales, from the sales side, from our sales office, to understand the person and do our best to service this person, do our best to put that together, clearly explaining the challenges, the opportunities, the risks, maybe even somewhat, right? And in partnership with the brokers and agents, I expect that there be,
More flexibility.
some flexibility and understanding, because without the client, there's no sale.
Yeah.
And so I catch myself sometimes because I like to speak a lot, and I think all salespeople do. But I think just offering and asking good questions that will trigger better understanding of
The needs of
the needs of the client.
Yeah, that's right.
Because ultimately it's up to him, and without him, we wouldn't have this job, we wouldn't have this opportunity.
I think a good salesman is needs to be a very good listener,
Definitely.
or needs to ask the right questions, because you need so many information in order to understand what the client is really looking for. And if you and most of the clients, they don't open up to you directly that this is what I want, this.
Definitely.
So they will just give you like two or three information, and you have to figure out the rest. So in order to figure out the rest, you have to ask the right questions. And I think a good salesman knows these questions in order to figure out what this client is exactly looking for, so we can give the right options.
Well, and I have to mention, I mean, oftentimes we are either the first project, sometimes the only project that gets looked at by a particular buyer. But we can also be the last project.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, after going through so many different projects, the buyer, the client is tired. He's a little bit frustrated. He's a little bit confused, maybe. I mean, so just being understanding, asking good questions. It's a bit of also, of course, improving our ability to listen.
Yeah.
And do our best to maybe fill the needs or the wants of the client or the buyer.
Yeah, that's true.
Not everybody's going to buy, and that's okay. And what's wrong is to push or pressure somebody to doing something that ultimately is not what they really want, because we'll find later There might be cancellations, there might be concerns, there might be challenging discussions. So it's best to do our best to explain in details, ask the right questions, and listen to see if it's a good fit for this particular client.
Is there any funny incidents that you had in your real estate career that you would like to share with us?
Funny incidents.
I mean, I'm sure we get a lot of funny incidents every day.
Sure.
Is there anything in particular that's still in your mind?
Yeah, you needed to ask me this question before. I'm having struggle thinking about funny incidents.
Any client could be any clients who just show up with a bunch of money. For example, one day I was in Prova and a guy showed up and he checked the project, checked a lot of units. 1 week later, his agent come with a bag of $1.5 million in cash. And he was like, the client doesn't have a bank account and he wants to purchase the property, and he just put it on the table and he left.
Right.
Funny thing is, we don't have a money counting machine in the office. So me and my employer, we had to sit in a meeting room like this and count $1.5 million by hand.
Wow. Wow.
I mean, there are funny incidents that happens,
Sure.
in our sector. Anything that came to your mind, maybe?
There were challenges with an off-plan project. What I've experienced. With the construction site, there are always things that don't sometimes seem to go right.
Yeah.
There was a period I remember. Weather can change in Istanbul quite a lot. It can be a beautiful day and then it could be raining. Rain on dirt, and construction means mud. So there's been a few cases with the buggy, taking clients, showing them around, being very confident and trying to create that experience that they want. But getting stranded in the mud, or the electricity of the electric buggy was finished, so we had to go walk back through the mud. So yeah, things like that happen. I like that oftentimes clients, when they come to us, they kind of have this adventurous spirit where they're doing a little bit of exploring. I don't let our visitors not have a chance to go through the construction, to understand these old, historic structures, to get a feel of what it is that where they're at, and the history behind it. Nothing too funny though.
Yeah. Speaking of mud, one day a client of mine, he reached out to us on a Sunday and he wants to check some lands in the region of Silivri. So it's like 1.5 hour drive without traffic. So it's like we're out of Istanbul. We took the client early in the morning, and we got the broker who has the lands to show us around, and it starts getting rainy. And when you are in the land, when you're checking lands, sometimes lands are not ready. There is no, there is no ready road or etc. So you have to go through this small narrow road or pist and everything. And it was full of mud. And I think we had to, full of mud and also bumps.
Right.
And water and everything. And my sensitive car couldn't,
Right.
manage. And I think I had to drove 1 or 2 kilometers on a speed of 5 kilometers per hour, trying to avoid every mud, everything.
right.
And it was, and the guy didn't buy. And my car that day
Of
was.
course, needed a detailing after that, huh?
You have no idea.
Can imagine. Can imagine. It's just part of the process. It's part of the job. But you kind of look at every new client. I think you feel the same. Every new opportunity as a chance to have that experience with people that If you give good questions and you're genuine and you're honest,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of talk, and at least I know that your last two guests have been, talking about, the values. Being an ethical salesman, it's incredibly
Yeah.
important because people feel that, people understand that, people get a gist of, and that's an area where, of course, it can continue to improve here. Transparency and everything within the market of real estate. But people tend to buy from people they like, and I think if you are honest and you have good ethics and standards to every new buyer,
Yeah.
people at least will be honest with you. The best is when at least they say, "Hey, you know what? I'm not going to buy this,
It's
or I am going
okay.
to buy this,"
Yeah.
and it's okay. It's okay. But you know what? I've had buyers come back and say, "You were recommended. I recommended you to my friend, and this friend ends up buying." So it's just part of life as a salesperson here.
If you weren't in real estate, what would your dream career be?
I worked directly with a gentleman, the customer service guru, a man named John Scholl. John Scholl is in his mid 70s now. He was one of the first in the world to write and develop a customer service training program. So I was his partner and representative in Russian speaking countries. So that's what I was doing with customer service. I always love good service, from my experiences. So it would be something with people. If it wasn't in sales, it would be on the flip side of building and developing, um, you know, uh, culture in organizations. I briefly
Yeah.
had experience with that. So this is working with HR, which isn't about administrative HR. It's not hiring and firing.
Yeah.
It's about building and developing these people, because I believe the most important asset of any business
It's
is
good.
your people.
Yeah.
You can have the most luxurious residences, you can have the best pricing, but essentially, if you don't have somebody to provide amazing service, honest opinions, and then you're very well, highly unlikely you're going to end up
Yeah.
taking the sale.
Yeah.
So I think it's about building your people. I think it's about training your people.
Yeah.
The problem is people don't train, right? People are like, they assume that, because you worked at XYZ agency or brokerage company, that you understand what you're doing. Taking a person, oftentimes a young individual, with very little training,
Yeah.
and putting them in front of what could be a hostile and challenging customer, it's very fearful. It's a very stressful process. So being able to give people the skills and the abilities to not just do their job,
Yeah.
but to enjoy doing their job if they're the right fit for the job. So it's basically, I like working with people. So anything about that.
Speaking of people, what would be your advice to anybody who is newly starting real estate? I think this question I'm asking every guest I have, and it's really enjoyable to hear what advices they have to young individuals who are newly starting out on real estate, whether in Turkey or whether in anywhere else.
Sure, sure. I would, I would be, I would be sure that's something that you really want to do, right? Sometimes people, especially young people, they sometimes choose a career or a job just by default, right? The misconception that people make a lot of money in real estate is
Yeah.
is not, it's not always true. There's a lot of people who don't make a lot of money, and there's a lot of people who are struggling to make sales and make a decent income. You work a lot of hours. Be prepared to put in the hard efforts our phones are, at least I know for myself, it's not a 10 to 6 or 9 to 5 job. Your clients can call you at any hour, so be prepared to be flexible. And I think if you are really wanting to be successful and passionate in anything, you're setting your own new standards for yourself. Don't look at somebody and see that this is what they do or they don't do, or you need to grow and you need to demand more of yourself. The time of classic education of going to university or something is also changing. The internet has so many resources out there. There's no reason why you shouldn't at least do your due diligence and learn more and listen to podcasts and follow people in the industry on social media, to really kind of develop your own flair and your own style. I think everybody has their own unique abilities, their skills, and we all know the areas that we're weakest. We need to improve our weak sides, and there's nothing wrong with that. And so being able to take an honest review of yourself, your abilities, your dreams, and your passions, and then working very, very hard to make that happen. And that's not only just in the real estate sales, but it's
In every business.
in every business.
Yeah.
I just get discouraged when oftentimes sales executives or real estate salespeople can be very lazy. Right? I mean, they want to do enough just to make the sale. Once the sale is done, I'm done. I'm done. I made the money and I'm good.
But they don't know that there is an after sale service. You have to, follow up with your clients to get his title
Sure.
deed, his paperwork. If he needs something, you will need to deliver the apartment when it's ready, etc., etc. But a lot of people, as you mentioned, they're just, well, I signed the contract, done deal, bye. But that's not how it works.
And that's very, very frustrating, and that's very, very negative. And I think unfortunately, these negative experiences has an overall perception of why I wasn't happy doing that, because it's much more than that. And I hope, and my dream is to continue to see that there's development in this sector as well as throughout Turkey, from the public transport system to the healthcare to the education, that Turkey continue to grow and develop, and everybody can be in a more happy, loving atmosphere, in the country.
That was some great advice there. Josiah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Hamza.
For being with us today. It was very informative episode with the insightful details that you shared with us. I'm sure that people are watching are gonna have a lot of details to learn from. I wish you a lot of lucks, and I'm really happy that you're here with us. And I hope that this is not the last time we're doing such a thing. There is, I think, a lot of things we can speak about. Thank you.
Thank you, Hamza.
Thank you again. Take care of
Hamza.
yourself. See you.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.